Imagine someone who could throw parties so big, they would talk about them all over town. That's Jimmy Jong for you, a guy who lived life large and didn't think twice about spending heaps of cash to have a good time. Now, what if I told you that same guy called the cops one day and ended up losing a fortune because of it? Sounds crazy, right? Well, that's the story we are about to dive into. It's about a young man, a huge pile of money, and a single phone call that changed everything. We are going to walk through every twist and turn of this wild ride, from the glitzy parties to the sneaky theft, and all the way to the jaw-dropping end. So, get comfy and let's get started on this unbelievable story of money, mystery, and a phone call that cost billions. Let's take a step back to where it all started. In a quiet little town called Athens in the USA, there was a guy named Jimmy Jong. He was just like any other college student, but with one big difference: he had a lot of money. One day, Jimmy made a call to the police that he had been robbed. A huge amount of cash, $400,000, was gone from his house. That's a lot of money, right? The police came over to check things out. They were a bit unsure because, well, that's a lot of money for a student to have, but Jimmy had proof. He showed them videos from his security cameras of a thief sneaking into his house. The thief's face was hidden, but it was clear someone had broken in. Now, Jimmy wasn't just any student. He was known for throwing the biggest parties around. He would spend more money on one party than most people would see in a year. And he wasn't shy about showing off his wealth either. He would even fly his friends to watch football games in a private jet. But here's the thing: Jimmy's money was a mystery. He told people he made it all from trading bitcoins, you know, the internet money that's been all the rage. And because the price of bitcoins went up like a rocket, everyone believed him. But the truth, well, that was about to come out in a way no one expected. After Jimmy's call, the police started to dig into the case. They had a hunch that something wasn't quite right. How could a college kid have so much money? To get to the bottom of it, they brought in a private investigator named Robin Martinelli. Martinelli was sharp and knew how to find hidden secrets. She took a good, hard look at Jimmy's life. She checked out Jimmy's social media, his friends, and even how he spent his money. Everyone knew Jimmy as the life of the party, but Martinelli thought there was more to the story. She found it odd that Jimmy, who didn't seem to have a big-paying job, was living like a king. The investigator also heard about Jimmy's claim of making money through Bitcoin. With everyone talking about how Bitcoin prices were shooting up, it seemed to make sense. But Martinelli wasn't convinced. She had a feeling that Jimmy's money might have come from somewhere else. Meanwhile, the cybercrime unit was also keeping an eye on Jimmy. They knew about the $400,000 theft and started to wonder about Jimmy's bitcoins. Where did all that cash come from? They decided it was time to pay Jimmy a little visit and see what they could find out. Now, things start to get really interesting. The cybercrime unit had been working on a big case for years: the Silk Road crypto heist. Silk Road was like a secret online market where people bought and sold illegal stuff using Bitcoin. Back in 2012, someone hacked into Silk Road and stole a whole bunch of Bitcoins, but nobody knew who did it because the website was illegal and no one reported the theft. Fast forward to Jimmy's situation. The cybercrime unit started to think that maybe, just maybe, Jimmy had something to do with those stolen Bitcoins. They needed to find out if Jimmy's Bitcoin address, kind of like an account number, was linked to the heist, so they came up with a plan to visit Jimmy and find out more. Undercover officers went to Jimmy's house, pretending they wanted to talk about the $400,000 theft. They were smooth and got Jimmy talking. He showed them his Bitcoin mining machines, but there was an expert with the officers who knew right away that those machines couldn't make as much money as Jimmy was spending. While they were chatting, One of the officers sneaked a peek at Jimmy's laptop and found his Bitcoin address. And guess what? That address was the missing piece they needed. It connected Jimmy to the Silk Road heist from years ago. The cybercrime unit's hunch was right. They had found their man. They needed to catch him red-handed. The officers were clever. They kept the conversation light and friendly, but they were really there to find proof. That's where they hit the jackpot. Now, hold on to your hats, because this is where the story takes a wild turn. While they were snooping around, they spotted a small table with a snack container on it. Something seemed off. They found a piece of paper, and underneath it, a tiny computer chip. It turned out to be a hardware wallet, a special kind of wallet for keeping Bitcoins safe. And guess what? It was loaded with the missing Bitcoins from the Silk Road heist, worth a whopping $3.5 billion. But how did they get there? Well, it's time for Jimmy to spill the beans. Jimmy told the officers that back in the day, he used to buy stuff from Silk Road. One time, he found a way to take Bitcoins from other people on the site. He didn't just take a few, he took a mountain of them, 51,680 to be exact. The owner of Silk Road caught on, but couldn't go to the cops since, his business wasn't exactly legal. So the owner messaged Jimmy, asking if he'd found a loophole. Jimmy owned up and explained the glitch. In return, the owner let him keep the Bitcoins. Fast forward to the present, and those same Bitcoins were now worth a fortune. But here's the kicker. If Jimmy hadn't called 911 over the $400,000, he might still be swimming in his sea of Bitcoins. That one call brought his whole world crashing down. The FBI and the cybercrime unit finally cracked a case that had been cold for years, all thanks to Jimmy's slip-up. And what about the Bitcoins? The FBI put out a notice for anyone to claim them, but nobody came forward. No surprise there, considering it would mean admitting to some shady dealings. So, there you have it, folks. Jimmy Jong, once a high-flying Bitcoin billionaire, got caught because he dialed 911. It's a tale that reminds us that sometimes one small move can change everything. So, what's the lesson here? Maybe it's that secrets don't stay hidden forever, especially when they're as big as $3.5 billion, or perhaps it's that the truth has a way of coming out when you least expect it. Thanks for watching. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from Knowledge Matrix and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.